Hello, it's Jenny. How are you guys doing? I'm just checking to make sure that I'm live both in the group and also in, oh no. I want to make sure I'm in the group live as well as in the event page live. So if you can see me or hear me, could you just let me know somehow? Okay. Okay, now I see myself. Okay, hi. Okay, wow, there's like automated like generating words for me. That's pretty cool. Okay, so hi, we have someone with us. How are you? I'm in the group. Okay, I'm also in the page. Perfect. Okay, so wait a minute. Share to groups. Share your live video to any of your groups so more people can watch. Okay, we don't need to do that today. But I'm looking forward to sharing this concept with you, this method that I've developed sort of in not as a rebellious act towards the typical food pyramid, but really as an addendum to, and really like a way of thinking about food differently than just the food itself. So what this model does is look at not only what we're eating, but also the circumstances around how we eat. So in terms of planning, in terms of hunger, in terms of like macronutrient balance and things like that, as opposed to um, like any specific one type of food and labeling that food as like good or bad, right? So we know that some foods are good for us. We know some foods are bad for us. It's not like anything is new from that perspective. The problem is that even though we know certain foods should be limited or avoided or whatnot, um, the problem is that we don't know how to actually follow through with that. And we don't know how to follow through that with that consistently, and our feelings and emotions and our former failures and everything else gets in the way of us learning how to do it consistently. And I think a lot of the time, part of why we struggle so much is because there's so much negative energy surrounding the decisions that we make around eating, that we worry we're going to get it wrong, that we're worried we're going to make the wrong choice, that we can't trust ourselves, that we're going to binge eat no matter what. Like, so a lot of this is just about our mindset about food. And I find it much more inspiring and much more motivating when we're looking at something from a positive to-do space as opposed to a negative don't do, right? Don't do this, don't eat that, have limited amounts of that, restrict this, right? That can feel very, it can put a spotlight on it almost in a way where it's like becomes hard not to rebel against it. Oh, hi, Jacinda's posting something. Hold on. Let me see if I can see this post. I can't see any of the comments. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm gonna just refresh my screen and see if I can see these comments because I want to see them. I want to see what you guys are saying. Oh no. Can you not see us? Can you not see me? Jacinda, tell me if you can see me in the training itself. You can. Okay. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, guys. I just want to make sure that I'm on and you guys can see me and hear me. Let me know if you can't. I know there are 3 of you on so far. So what I was saying is that the way that I approach my coaching, my philosophy in general, is always a to-do positive. What can we add instead of what can we take out? Because just the way the human brain works and behaviorally, we're always going to be more inspired by the to-do, like what can we create, what can we find in our environment that's going to make us healthier, as opposed to like, oh, what should I take out, what should I restrict, what's bad for me, that's a no, there's like a million no's, right? Why can't we focus on the yeses? Why can't we focus on the things and make space for finding creative solutions towards finding healthy foods that we actually love to eat, that taste good to us, that are easy to make, and so forth, as opposed to this constant like worry and dread and fear that we're always doing it wrong, right? And that kind of thinking actually often leads us into this like cyclical space where, you want to change a behavior, you try really hard, you have a setback, and the setback sets off an emotional response that creates us to avoid going further. So it actually either keeps us stuck, or it like allows us to just look the other way and not deal with the issue at hand. Because in a lot of ways, sometimes confronting these types of things is harder than just avoiding it. Even though the avoiding makes us feel miserable, keeps us stuck, doesn't change the situation, doesn't inspire us, it's safer. And as human beings, we want to feel safe. We want to feel familiar. We want to feel like we know what we're doing. And we do that even if it means that it's going to keep us stuck and it's not going to help us grow. Does that make sense? And so again, when I look at a typical, let me see if you guys can see this. When you look at can you see this? When you look at a typical food pyramid, I'm like on a little bit of a delay here, so I can't see if you can see this. So I'm waiting a second for my former self on live there to catch up. Okay. All right. So the typical regular food pyramid, it always starts with like the top, like have this sparingly. Don't have salt. Don't have sugar. Don't, whatever it is, right? Don't. And in general, the way that our brain works is that we respond more to abundance. We respond more to like tell me what I can say yes to, and let's de-emphasize all the things that we shouldn't be doing. Okay, so I'm going to actually see if I can share my screen for a second because I want to explain this to you in a different way. And again, if you're popping on today, come say hi. Tell me where you're from, where you're listening from. Tell me, what you struggle with, and I will be happy to. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell if people are here or not. And I'd be happy to answer any questions and talk more about all of this. So let me see if I can. Oh, I can't share my screen. Oh, you can see me. Yay! Hi, Lori. Hi, Carol. I can finally see people. Sorry about that. I'm so glad you guys are on. Okay, so I can't share my screen, so I'm gonna just keep this like this little visual up here on the blackboard, and I'm gonna walk you through this. Okay, so again, with the regular food pyramid, let me see if I have. We have. Eat, I'm lefty, so forgive me on that. Eat fats sparingly, like that's bad. Sugar, okay, salt, processed foods. I'm going to keep going. You know what I'm talking about. So we know those foods are good for us, right? We know that. And yet that doesn't necessarily stop us from eating those foods. We sometimes will do things that we know are bad for us or not great for us, even though we know there are consequences. That's human nature. We're always going to opt to feel more comfortable and safe than to be out of our comfort zone. So it takes practice to try to upgrade your mindset and to think about these types of things in a different way. So let me go a little further. And I know my handwriting is atrocious. I wanted to share my screen, but I can't do that. So we have that. And then if you look at another, the healthy eating pyramid or whatever it is, it's like have red meat and butter, refined grains, pasta, all this, have that like sparingly. And then, have a lot of dairy. You can have some dairy, you can have whatever. But then down here, you're going to have a lot of nuts and seeds, proteins, all that good stuff. And then down here, obviously, like have all kinds of vegetables, have all kinds of fruits. That's all great. And what I want you guys to start thinking about, and tell me if you can't see this very well, is to be thinking instead of from littlest to big to largest, that we're looking at a sense of abundance here. That we're always going to be looking at what can we have the most of and where can we direct our attention to most often as it relates to foods. Let me put this down for a sec. And so when we're looking at the first one on my reverse food pyramid list, what I'm really looking at here is a sense of gratitude, a sense of pleasure. Are we inviting pleasure into the eating experience at all? Or are we filled with worry and guilt and remorse or what have you? Are you savoring your food? Are you eating slowly? Are you conscious? Are you eating mindfully? Those are the things that I want people to focus on first and foremost before they even take a single bite of food, really, is to be setting the environment in a way that allows you to really fully enjoy the experience of eating, but also allow your body to assimilate those nutrients better. Because when we're really fully conscious for the eating experience, we're able to then digest our food better. Our brain gets the message that pleasure has been received, and it will help take away cravings. It'll help take away that feeling of antsiness that you need more food and that you got to pick and that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the first the first rung, if you will, on my reverse food pyramid. It's the abundance of conscious eating, of slow eating, of savoring your food, of allowing pleasure to be in the experience. Trust, trusting that your body's gonna know how much it needs and when to stop. And that takes practice. That absolutely takes practice. But that's the highest and most important part of that pyramid. And also water, right? Water, we're made up of water, we need water. So that's always going to be something that I would want to focus on. And then as you go down to the next rung, then we're looking at more specific. So because I do a lot of work with gut health and the microbiome, and so many of us have really a lot of dysbiosis, and both in terms of diversity and population of the gut bacteria, but also the ratio of good to bad bacteria is not where it needs to be. So your body isn't able to metabolize some of the foods that you're eating, and therefore it's not getting fully optimized and assimilated into your body. So it's like you could eat all the healthiest foods in the world, but if your body's not metabolizing it and utilizing it for fuel in the way that it should, you're not going to feel good. You're still going to have gut issues. You're still, your gut health is related to your mood and how much energy you have and your immunity. In fact, it's like 70% of your immunity is in your gut health. So when I look at the sort of the next rung, I'm looking at how do we optimize your gut health? How do we optimize, because that is your health. And so the next rung would be fermented foods and whole unprocessed foods, right? The kind of food that has soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. So the kinds of foods that are going to be most optimal to your body. Also, from scratch cooking, like how much are you actually like cooking your food? If you're not a cook, like even just really simple meals that are just from scratch, that are whole unprocessed ingredients. And it's not to say that all of your food should be like that. Remember, we're looking at abundance, right? That's the top layer. And then what you're striving for is finding a nice balance. So it's macronutrient balanced foods, it's fermented foods, it's cooking from scratch whenever you're able to, plant powered. So again, you don't have to be a vegetarian, you don't have to be a vegan, but really thinking about, can plants be the star of the show for you? And are you eating enough plants, right? So, we know that plants have just amazing amounts of phytochemicals, phytonutrients, fiber, all kinds of things that your body needs. And we also know that we should be eating a lot of them, but we don't always do it, right? And so that's where sort of this behavioral component comes in, where we learn through compassion and through, practice, how to eat more of those foods in a really gentle way, in a really, really like not judging way. Because the way I used to do things, it's like, okay, I looked at the top of the pyramid. I shouldn't have any fat. I shouldn't have any sugar. I shouldn't have any salt. I shouldn't have any processed foods. And at the bottom was all these like fruits and vegetables and like blah, blah, blah. And in my mind, I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? Because I love sugar and salt and processed foods. And I don't really love vegetables and fruit. So how am I ever going to achieve this? But now that I think of it in this different way, again, it's from this place of like, yes, what can we do to make this enjoyable for you? What can we do to make this sustainable for you? And how can we take the energy of this bad food away so that it's on my own terms? It's not like, oh my God, I messed up. I ate something I'm not supposed to. I'm going to be really sick. Bad things are going to happen. That's no way to build consistency in a healthy lifestyle if it's based on fear. It has to be based on trust, and it has to be based on confidence. And that shows up by you doing it every day and finding the low-hanging fruit, if that makes sense. The path of least resistance. How do we do this in a way that it feels like it's on your terms, that it feels doable and sustainable, and there's no force and there's no guilt involved? Okay, so then I wish I could share my screen, but I will send a photo of this for whoever wants it. But again, we're looking at fermented foods, macronutrient balanced foods, whole foods, unprocessed from scratch, and plant powered. And then when you look at the next rung, this is where it gets interesting, because if we know that we've got to increase more pleasure, more gratitude, we've got to slow down, we've got to be more mindful. And then we know, okay, and I got to have more fermented foods. I need to find a way to get more plant-powered foods in there. I need to find more macronutrient balance. Then the next rung is this idea of accountability, so to speak, and like advocating for yourself and finding the solutions that are going to help you to get to the higher rungs of the reverse food pyramid. So what that may mean is that you're doing more meal planning. You're learning how to bring your attention towards meal planning so that it actually happens. Meal prep, like having a batch meal prep day. Advocating for yourself in restaurants, advocating for yourself when you go out of your own food environment. So a lot of the time, I'm I'm actually a vegan now. I was a vegetarian for 30 years and now I'm vegan, and I'm also gluten free. So it's hard. Like if I'm not eating at home, it can be really hard. And I used to just sort of like suck it up, and I didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't want to have a spotlight on my food, like how I eat. So I would just show up and hope for the best, that there'd be some vegetarian food. And if not, I'd go hungry, or I would have like a roll or something. And I realized that I have to advocate for myself. I can't just assume that there's going to be vegetarian food for me. I have to make sure that I'm honoring my own hunger and my own lifestyle and my own values and whatever. So I would start to maybe eat before I left. For instance, my grandmother couldn't handle that I was a vegetarian, and she thought, okay, well, if I invite her over and I have nothing, if I have nothing for her to eat, that's not a cow or a chicken or something, she's going to have to eat meat, right? And I would remember I'd come over and I'd be like, I would be eating a roll, right? Because it doesn't work that way. And then I understood that not everybody understands. It's not my job to help other people understand what my eating needs are or whatever. It's my job to actually advocate for myself. And so that means either eating before, bringing something with me, having a conversation ahead of time. And that's what I mean. So advocating kitchen planning, like organizing your own food environments in a way that works for you. Again, I have an entire drawer in the refrigerator that's just all my vegan food, because the rest of my family is a meat and potatoes kind of eating family. So I want to make sure that when I open the fridge, I'm not searching around for all the food that I love to eat, but it's right front and center and it's available to me. And that's what I mean by advocating and planning and prepping. And then the fourth layer here that I want to talk about, and again, as we're going down this pyramid, these are the fewer things, the things we want to crowd out, right, through the top layer here. And as we're getting into that fourth layer, we're looking at dieting, right? Dieting, micromanaging your calories or your macros or your carbs. Like that's when we start to get into the weeds. Some people love it. And if you're more minded, like you want to keep track of everything, more power to you. But I'm really speaking about people who have tracked calories, who have micromanaged, who used to weigh and measure everything, and it became so burdensome that then you go on the opposite side and you do nothing, right? And that's very, very common, is this like dichotomous thinking of like, I either have to do it perfectly or I'm going to do nothing. And so we have to know that perfect cannot be the enemy of good, right? And we have to be looking at how do we make these things as easy as possible for us, and how do we do it in a way without it constantly invading our brains and preoccupying our minds and not allowing for enough space for all the other things that make us happy in our lives, right? And so I realized that it became a problem when I stopped going out to dinner because I was keeping all my calories, and like there was no way I could do that, right? So it's bringing down the temperature, lowering the fear around food, and you're trusting yourself, and getting rid of the rigidity and the black and white thinking and the rules. Like if I was a former dieter, chronic dieter, weight cycler, and anybody who has been a chronic dieter, weight cycler, they're the highs and lows of dieting. When it's over. When you got to get it back. And I find that the black and white thinking was always what kept me stuck and kept me in that cyclical space. But when I was like open things up and I was allowing myself to be more flexible, and I was allowing myself to let go of rules and the toxic beliefs that I carried for so long, right? Then I was able to understand on my own terms what my body actually needs, what my hunger is actually, instead of vilifying my hunger and appetite, I was getting curious about it. And then the last one, again, we're crowding it out. The last one is all the things that you've carried around with you related to food. So shame and guilt and worry and food rules and the morality of food. What else do I have here? Fast eating, eating standing up, mindless eating, like dashboard dining in your car, the stress eating. We're all emotional eaters. It's just part of who we are. we infuse our emotions into everything we do. So for us to extricate ourselves from emotion and eating, it's not going to happen, but we can work with it, and we don't have to vilify and judge all of our feelings, and to know that it's okay that sometimes you're going to eat out of your emotions, and sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's not going to be physical hunger, and that's okay. And to not like sit in judgment of ourselves, but to actually show ourselves a little compassion and a little curiosity about why that emotion translated into you eating the cake or you ordering the pizza. And when we can sort of let go of the judgment and the all the feelings of not good enoughness, right, that we experience, and the lack of trust, the lack of confidence, if we can let go of that and just see what really is, then we can build something new. Letting go of that makes more room and space for trust and confidence and practice and perseverance and all the other things that need to be in place for healthy living to be a long-term endeavor, instead of this cyclical on and off that I experienced for so many years. I know so many of you have. It's exhausting. And this model, this reverse food pyramid model, is designed to put the attention where it should be, which is like enjoying the experience of eating, of trusting yourself, of letting pleasure be part of that experience. Gratitude and savoring your food, mindful eating, all of that stuff can be really, really powerful and can set the stage, set the foundation for all the other things. And also, like I said, crowd out, allow less space for all the negative and toxic thinking and the tug of war that we have with ourselves. I would love to know what you guys think. I haven't been checking sorry, I've been just caught in my own little rant here. Joni says, found it, yay. Hi, Lori, you're from Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Awesome, my brother lives in New Jersey. Kathy says, I can see and hear you. Yay, I'm so glad. Okay, so that's sort of the mini training. I'll send you the link that I have. I can't show it to you now, but that's okay. And I just want to share that this training is part and parcel of a larger program that I've been developing now for 5 months. And it's really the culmination of 20 years of all my experience in therapy and education, in health management, mindful eating psychology, and now culinary nutrition. I just got my culinary nutrition certificate. And in this particular program, I'm sort of culminating both gut health, stress reduction techniques, building a healthy relationship with food, understanding your habits better, and addressing some of the things that have kept you stuck with your relationship with food, like self-sabotage, like cyclical eating, the weight cycling, dieting, toxic negative beliefs about yourself and about food. All of these things are so important in terms of being able to sort of leave the past behind and then rebuild really what it means to be a healthy, holistically healthy person. Especially in 2020, it's been so hard for so many people that I felt really compelled to develop this program, because so many people have been holding on to this like intense day in and day out chronic stress, whether it's for the pandemic or the political climate or what's going on in your life personally. We're hanging on to a lot of stress right now, and that's creating inflammation in our body. It's killing off the good bacteria in your microbiome, and it's affecting so many other things, including how you eat, what you eat, how you sleep, what your mood is like, how much energy you have, your immunity, right? So this program that I've developed, it's a 6-month intensive. It's like immersive one-on-one program. I'm using a company called Excella, I'll put the info below, Excella, and it's a really amazing company where they actually test your microbiome through a pinprick test, and they get it sent out to a lab, and they look at 11 different metabolites in your body that can determine not just the population, like how much gut bacteria you have and the ratio of good bacteria to bad bacteria, but also it's going to tell us whether or not the bacteria in your body is actually doing what it's supposed to do, which is metabolizing your food, and then the byproduct of that are these metabolites that then go throughout your body. For instance, when I had this test done, I realized that my tryptophan metabolite was low, as well as my tyrosine levels were low. So what does that mean? So the bacteria will take my food and metabolize it, and the out product, the enzymatic out product of that is this metabolite tryptophan, which then gets converted into, guess what, serotonin and melatonin. Those two things have to do with your mood and they have to do with your sleep. So because I wasn't getting enough tryptophan, and I learned this through this gut health test, because I didn't know that, I was having sleep issues and mood issues, right? So what this test does is it gives you exactly what how your gut bacteria are performing for you. And then it gives you specific foods that can target those metabolites. So for instance, pumpkin seeds is a really great and vegan way to increase my tryptophan. So I started like pounding the pumpkin seeds and things like that. So that's just one example of what this program is about. It's about replenishing your gut health. It's about releasing chronic stress. And then it's about rebuilding a healthy and sustainable relationship with food and getting that confidence so that you can go about your life, live up to your potential, do the things that you love to do, and not be constantly at a tug of war with yourself, not be constantly worried about what you're eating or how much you weigh, or, did you do the right thing that day, or why didn't you exercise? And instead looking for ways that you can build that healthy lifestyle bit by bit, again, out of curiosity instead of fear. So I am so excited about this program. I actually already have 3 people enrolled, which I'm delighted about. And I'm going to cap it at 8. I didn't even tell you the rest of it. So then there's this, it's a 6-month program with 10 calls with me, 6 group calls. And then based on your results in the Excel test, I'm going to create and develop a completely personalized meal plan for you, which is so fun and exciting. And then you'll have long-term 6 months of support to help you build the skills and practice with the gentle accountability and a little bit of pushing to support you to build these healthy lifestyle behaviors forever, for good. So the idea is that it's the last program you're ever going to need or want. I can't wait to tell you more about it. If you're interested, I would invite you to go to jennyedenberg.com/getreplenished. I put this in the comments note. And if you would like to schedule just a quick free call with me and we can talk more about it, see if it's a good fit for you, you can go to bit.ly/replenishcall. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini training. Let me just check the comments. The video freezes every so often, but picks up where you left off. Thank you for telling me that, Lori. I'm sorry about that. Stress is a killer in so many ways. Yes, Joni, I totally know. And you know what's so interesting about that, Joni, is that this gut health test is actually, it's actually helps to determine why you might be at a weight plateau as well, which is really interesting. So anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you love this concept of the reverse food pyramid. It really resonates with me. I mean, I know I created it, but for me, it really made all the difference in terms of where I put my attention so that everything else falls into line and that it's coming from this positive, encouraging and motivating place as opposed to a place of fear and worry and stress. So let me know your comments. I would love to know how what your thoughts are about this reverse food pyramid method, and also would love to talk to you on the phone if you're interested more in learning about Replenish. Also go to the site, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Now I don't know how to get out. Okay.